Welcome to the Spiritual Sisters podcast. I'm Gabrielle Celeste, an astrologer, psychic, and someone who spends a lot of time asking the universe questions.
And I'm Brianna, her younger sister. I don't know about all of that, but I do know she's usually entertaining.
Every week, we sit down and talk about the things everyone is secretly trying to figure out: relationships, healing, astrology, intuition, personal growth, life's weird timing, and everything in between.
Basically, Gabby brings the curiosity.
And Brianna brings the comic relief.
I mean, somebody has to keep the show from getting a little bit too serious.
Whether we're unpacking the astrology of the week, sharing stories from our own lives, or sitting down with fascinating guests, our hope is that every episode leaves you feeling a little more connected to yourself and maybe laughing a little more too.
You don't have to know your birth chart. You don't even have to be spiritual. You just have to be curious and slightly a little bit nosy.
Our goal isn't to convince you what to believe, it's to make you curious enough to ask better questions. And if you like everything you just heard, you can find our show and a whole lot more just like it streaming free right now on New Reality TV.
So grab your coffee, buckle up, and join us every week for the Spiritual Sisters podcast.
Bye!
Bye!
Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Soul Ecosystem Podcast. I am your host, Anna Rising, and on this podcast, we discuss all things soul contracts. I am a professional soul contract reader, and I work with a modality that combines Jewish mysticism, astrology, tarot, and numerology to calculate what you incarnated here to do. Some of you guys might know this as the Destiny Matrix, Matrix of Fate, but essentially it shows you the blueprint, the map of what it is that you wanted to experience before this incarnation. And on today's episode, we are going to be looking at someone that I very recently discovered. I didn't realize I've heard his compositions and his music before, but his name is Jorge Rivera-Herrans. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Don't shoot me if I didn't, but he came out with this absolutely epic musical called Epic that is loosely based on the Odyssey, and I have been listening to it on replay. I've discovered it because I've been binge watching a bunch of Akatar reels, and I saw this like adaptation of like his music combined with like this Akatar animation thing, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I thought it was perfect timing to go over this right now considering the Odyssey just dropped. I also would love to take a look at Christopher Nolan's chart, but maybe I will say that for a different episode. So, this might be a really quick episode. We're going to take a look at Jorge Rivera-Herrans' soul contract. I do not know much about him going into this, but I want to see what it says about his writing ability. I predict we're going to see the Fairy World Writer-Director program because, I mean, I feel like that's just the sign of someone that's incredibly creative and artistic and able to put together something as beautifully unique as this musical was. Maybe I should do a whole episode on like musicians and composers like Hans Zimmer and Andrew Lloyd Webber, who made my favorite musical, Phantom of the Opera. I feel like we need to do like one episode where we're tackling. Maybe we'll do it individually. Anyway, so Jorge specifically interests me because he was born in 1996. So he's actually 30 years old. And I wanted to show you guys via our handy dandy soul contract calculator that you guys can find on thesoulecosystem.com. I'm going to show you guys how to put in your date of birth, so you can calculate your own soul contract chart. You can buy it in parts, you can buy the full version. I recommend buying the full version so you can download the PDF. So yes, Jorge was born February 6th, 1996. So, based on those two primary numbers, the 2 and the 6, we know that he is somewhat of a peacemaker. He likely understands people's arguments like very well, their pleas, their plights very, very deeply on a deeper level than most. And that 6 is telling us that his whole entire incarnation is centered around relationships, the way that he treats others, the way that other people treat him, and kind of witnessing the dynamic that people and human beings have within relationships, which I feel like would help him heavily if he's trying to channel that kind of emotion, that kind of dynamic in a musical to kind of carry over those relationships through music. Let's take a look at his chart. Oh, I feel like we need a moment of silence for this right now. We need a moment of silence for what we're seeing happening in his soul essence, in his chi, essentially, because this is Michael Jackson numbers. These are Michael Jackson numbers. This is Michael Jackson energy. I've told a few clients before that this particular combination, there's no like subconscious program for it, but I do feel like it's incredibly important because this is the number of the Fibonacci sequence, this 369. It's the numbers of sacred geometry. And when we see something like that, I just know the person is super creative, super unique, one of a kind of personality. And the fact that we see that as soon as we look at his chart is just amazing. I feel like you can pick up on his genius through this musical that he created. I don't think it's a surprise at all that he has the same inner energy as Michael Jackson. Okay, so we're going to go down here. When you guys purchase a full soul contract analysis, you have the option of downloading your soul contract, and you are going to see the primary numbers section. This is going to tell you about the two primary numbers you have, meaning the day you were born and the month you were born in. Let's take a look at his past life karmic debt, because this one's interesting. I did not expect this. He has the black magic past life karmic debt. So in his past life, he had powerful abilities and used them to influence other people's lives, sometimes without consent. Even when intentions were good, this created karmic imbalance and disruption. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I wonder if this creation of this musical is kind of like the contrast to this karmic imbalance, because whenever you create something, especially from your authenticity, from your soul with passion, you are healing something within the collective. So I feel like it's very interesting to see a past life where he has this karmic debt, where essentially it feels like there might have been manipulation involved, but whatever he did in the past life karmic debt, he was really good at. He just used his abilities to influence or manipulate people. So how do we see this manifest in the present life? In this lifetime, sorry about the cat. In this lifetime, we see that he is constantly provided with choices, options between using power for good or using power for evil. There may be a tendency to step into situations, give unsolicited advice, or try to fix other people. However, whenever he interferes, it often leads to unintended consequences. So his lesson here is to really not interfere in other people's problems, try to interject, try to give his own advice, because that carries a karma of your own, especially when you're trying to help other people not get their karma. Like sometimes people just need to learn karmic lessons in order to heal the karmic cycles that they have to go through. So it's interesting that we see that there. We have harmony as one of his talents and spiritual gifts. So a superpower of persuasion. That's no surprise, right? That's the number of the two. Twos are really good at persuading people, kind of diluting situations or kind of like balancing things out. Then we see the number of leadership, setting goals and achieving them is one of his talents. And then we see the high priest or priestess. So he's really good with organization. We're not going to go too deep into maternal lineage talents and paternal lineage talents, but they're right there for you guys. We see destiny and purpose. So this is kind of interesting to me, because usually this kind of destiny would pop up in a feminine personality, here we see him having the 3 destiny number, which is indicative of somebody that's meant to embrace their feminine side, embody softness, wisdom, compassion, care. People with this kind of destiny naturally connect well with women, which can become a powerful strength in careers or paths. And people with the destiny number 3 usually end up having daughters. If they remain overly rooted in their masculine energy, they may attract partners who embody a more feminine role, creating an imbalanced dynamic that ultimately feels unfulfilling. Then we see the destiny number 6. Sixes are here to express beauty and aesthetics in ways that go beyond physical appearance. This beauty is spiritual, emotional, energetic. I feel like he really nails that down within his music, communicating spiritual, emotional, energetic kind of themes. Then we have his purpose as being the purpose number 9. So the purpose of number 9 is to cultivate balance in all areas of life, particularly within their emotional and mental well-being. They are meant to influence and guide others, but this influence must be exercised with wisdom, humility, self-awareness. So that's interesting. Let's take a look at the subconscious programs. And the first thing that we see is the Fairy World Writer-Director program. The Fairy World Writer-Director program is indicative of a person that's very creative, very imaginative, able to construct entire universes and worlds in their head. They would make excellent writers, directors, and the celebrities that we see with this program are some of the biggest writers and directors that are known to man. Sylvester Stallone, J.K. Rowling. Then we get Selena Gomez, Katherine Heigl, Khloe Kardashian, Chappell Roan, Billy Crystal, Jane Goodall, Joan of Arc, and Frida Kahlo. We also see the high spiritual unification mission. So he was meant to create something that unites others towards the common cause. Some people might think that this is immediately like a call to political action or something, or maybe I'm just speaking for people, because that's essentially what I thought it was when I was just learning this modality. But it's more so that whatever it is that you create with your incarnation, within your lifetime, it is meant to kind of join people together. Like, it is meant to join people together, unite them, and be a force of unification instead of a force of division. We have the binge program for him. That's indicative of someone that may struggle with moderation, preferring an all or nothing approach to life. I have a feeling this is going to come out with the burnout program, because those usually come hand in hand. We have spiritual and physical beauty, as seen in Shonda Rhimes, Justin Chambers, Kobe Bryant, Denzel Washington, and Jane Goodall. So this is a good soul. This is somebody that has the ability to be very uplifting and helps other people see the beauty within themselves and the world around them. That's very, very beautiful. Magical knowledge ties in with his past life karmic debt. That kind of confirms that there was something going on there with magic, that he was manipulating people. And magic isn't always in the way like that you guys might think, like witchcraft. Magic is really any sort of manipulation. It could be like physical manipulation where you're trying to either play on somebody's feelings, play on somebody's emotions, or their weaknesses to get them to do something that they wouldn't have done otherwise. So that in and of itself is a form of magic. We see the fear of expansion next. Some of the biggest household names that I see have this program because it essentially acts as like a slingshot that propels you forward. So at first you feel like you're being held back. At first you're afraid of expansion. You're afraid of chasing your dreams. You're afraid of putting yourself out there. But once you get past that fear and allow yourself to expand enough to be in a position of visibility, to be in a position where you're letting other people critique your work, then it kind of propels you into fame, into success, into that expansion that you were afraid of before. So it's something that each person that has this program has to work through. Let's see. we have the mother wound. I'm not loving seeing that because sometimes when it's operating in its shadow aspect, the mother wound may foretell people with sexist tendencies, people that have very sexist beliefs or negative treatment of women because they have this mother wound. So I'm hoping that he is operating from the light aspect of that. Extreme caution. Now we're seeing a lot of extremism programs. It feels like this is a really, really creative soul. It feels like this is a very all or nothing type of person that is essentially like go big or go home. When he's in the zone, when he's creating stuff, when he's creating music, it feels like he's on cloud nine. But it seems like there's also this extreme shadow aspect to him, extreme downside that happens that might get him very down on himself. That happens when he's not in the zone. So it's like there's no in between for him. So, yes, the challenge with this program is that it pulls you toward extremes. I feel like the binge program coupled with this is a little bit dangerous when it comes to vices and being able to say no to vices, being able to moderate your eating, your consumption of different kinds of things that if you consume too much, then it's going to be unhealthy for you. And then we see that coupled with excitement, risks, adrenaline. Okay, this is giving broody. This is giving a much more troubled kind of personality than I thought that we were going to see in this soul contract. The excitement, risks, adrenaline in its light is very good. It means you're adventurous, bold, willing to step out of your comfort zone. You're able to take risks. You're able to like really put yourself out there. But the downside of this program is that oftentimes you might take risks that make absolutely no sense. Like the risks heavily outweigh any sort of reward that you might get from whatever it is that you set out to do. So they might take really dangerous risks with their body, with their health, that just you shouldn't do. You shouldn't try. There's no point. Like it doesn't make sense to do it. So I don't love that for him. Inquisition is the program of convictions, not easily influenced by the opinions of others, which I think is very important if you're going to be doing something like putting out a musical you wrote. You need to have tough skin. You need to be able to withstand criticism. The potential challenge with this program is that these strong beliefs may become rigid beliefs. And now that we have already seen a mother wound, we kind of talked about his treatment of women might be it might not be the best. Mother wound programs usually leave a kind of sour taste for the bearer of the program in regards to women. So I don't know if I'm liking this soul contract so far. We have the hidden self, sensitivity. Okay, so sensitivity tells me in his shadow side, he's a little bit insecure. He might be a little bit insecure and he might put on a front where he acts all tough, where he acts like he knows that he's the best and everything, acts very confident, maybe overly confident to the point of arrogance, but inside he's deeply, deeply sensitive, deeply, deeply affected by people's criticisms, affected by what other people think of him. He just tries to hide it. Also, in his whole tough guy act, he might try to get other people to also try to be tough like him. Like his whole mentality is almost like, well, if I am not bothered by this and this person saying that, then you shouldn't be bothered either. So that's the sensitivity program for you guys. Sacred sacrifice, broken systems, intelligence. This alludes to his brilliance. I feel like you have to be very intelligent to put together a freaking musical. I mean, it's the best. If you guys have some time, go listen to the soundtrack of Epic because it's absolutely brilliant. He also has the revenge program. Okay. So if he's not an ally, if he hasn't kind of come out and spoken about the LGBTQ community, secret love can mean that he might be a little closeted, if not bi. Usually, secret love program says that somebody is supportive of the LGBTQ community. I believe Michael Jordan has it. I forget if there was another big name that has this program, and they go out of their way to make sure that their stance on LGBTQ is known, and they'll either donate to their cause or donate to organizations within that community. So if he's not an outspoken ally, I would have to assume that the opposite, not the opposite, that he might be a little bit closeted here. And it would make sense. It would make sense if that mother wound is in effect for him and in the shadow aspect. Restless souls. Okay, so restless souls is another really big contrasting one, because in its light aspect, restless souls gives a person this abundance of energy. With its shadow aspect, it's almost like the higher you fly, the harder you fall. So restless souls usually have a hard time with mental health. Something might trigger them that causes them to go into an almost unbearable depression. And we've seen that over and over again in his soul contract. Like there's just some troubled mentality, some kind of maybe mental behaviors or cycles that are happening for him that make it probably hard to create. So I think that says a lot about him pushing past all this and still putting something like this musical out there. We have the signature mark, unspoken truth. Is there anything else that we should kind of address? Wandering flame. Wandering flame kind of speaks of a love affair. Either the person doesn't know that they are in a love triangle, or they knowingly go into a love triangle. I feel like that also speaks to a person being very passionate. Then we go into special mission. Special mission, I feel like if he hasn't already gone through something very traumatic and tragic in his life, which would explain why he has these kind of very very difficult shadow side that has a hard time moderating things, that has a hard time finding a middle ground that's either really good or really, really bad. If he hasn't already went through that, he's going to. The special mission has a way of letting people turn their pain into something beautiful. And if I had to guess, I would guess that Jorge Rivera-Herrans turned his pain into Epic, the musical. I'm going to actually be seeing Odyssey tonight, and I cannot wait. I can't wait to see it because I feel like the whole entire time I'm going to have like this musical playing in the back of my head to all of the scenes. We see the illusion of freedom for him, as well as helping hands, sacred order, all or nothing program. You can't make it up. So there's something happening here with his mental health, breaking toxic cycles. Yeah. So if I had to like sum up his soul contract in one word, I would definitely say, oh, okay, 2 words: tortured artist. 2 words: tortured artist. It's all over his chart. There's a lot of pain behind the things that he creates, even though it might not seem that way, because I feel like you don't get that sense when you listen to his music, when you listen to the musicals, when you listen to the composition. But the soul contract is kind of shedding light on what's happening underneath for him, and I absolutely love that. We also have the actor actress program. I can see that. I can see him being a good actor. I can't wait to see what he does. I hope he makes another musical. I hope he is able to put other things out. I would love to see this show on Broadway. That would be insane. But that is what I have for you guys for Jorge Rivera-Herrans. I won't say that I like his soul contract because I feel like it's very, very heavy, but it gives us a look into how he's able to create what he creates. I feel like there's a very big story behind who he is, behind what he's experienced, and the fact that he was able to take all of this, it feels like turmoil, internal turmoil, and make something so beautiful out of these ashes. It's incredibly powerful. So if you guys haven't already checked out the musical, I feel like you should. Let me know if you guys like it. If you guys wanted to get your own soul contract analysis, you can go to thesoulecosystem.com and click on the soul contract calculator tab at the top and select either buying it in parts. If you wanted only to learn your past life karmic debt or only to learn the subconscious programs you have, you can do so. I still have a promo code for $50 off. Just type in beta into the promo code box to get 50 off your soul contract analysis. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining me. Let me know if there's another composer or musical genius that you would like me to look into next. I wonder if, I feel like I had the request for Hamilton before. So maybe we're going to look into Lin-Manuel Miranda next. That would not be a bad idea. So thanks for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Have a wonderful weekend.